Today, I'm going to be making the popular Indian dish known as samosas. Although typically fried, this recipe has you baking the samosas. I love samosas, they're really good. Samosa with an S, not mimosa like the drink. I got it on all recipes from Pho 1962. Sounds simple enough, let's make it. This recipe wants you to peel and cube 4 potatoes, regular potatoes. Mine are of a smaller variety, so I'm gonna peel and cube 6 of them. But otherwise, just 4 regular, like Idaho potatoes will work. So just peel the skin off. Okay, peel the skin off all your potatoes. Now that we've peeled our potatoes, just lightly cube them. Maybe 1-inch cubes or a little less. Put potatoes in a large pot of cold water. Make sure the water covers them about 1 inch. Salt the water, and then bring it to a boil. Once your potatoes have reached a boil, immediately turn the heat down to medium-low. And then we're going to simmer them for 20 minutes, or until tender. For this recipe, you also need to finely chop 2 onions. So I like to work with 1/2 of an onion at a time. Okay, that's 1/2 an onion, I would say pretty finely chopped. Maybe a few large pieces in there I can still go after. That's 2 small onions, finely chopped. You also need 1 inch of fresh ginger, which normally looks like this, but I peeled the skin off a 1-inch section, and then it says to finely grate it. So just use a grater. There you go. 1 inch of pickled ginger that has been grated. You also need 2 Roma tomatoes finely chopped for this recipe, but just finely chop them. There we go, that's 1/2 a tomato finely chopped. Maybe not quite finely chopped yet, but almost. So just continue that with your 2 Roma tomatoes. 2 finely chopped Roma tomatoes. Once your potatoes have simmered for 20 minutes on medium-low, drain them. Transfer the drained potatoes to a large bowl and mash them, but coarsely. So don't mash them like super all the way down to mashed potato level. Okay, I'd say that's coarsely mashed. Preheat oven to 400 degrees. Put 1/4 cup of oil into a skillet and turn it to medium-high heat. Now that it has reached medium-high heat, stir in your onions and your grated ginger. Stir those around. Then you need 3 tablespoons of coriander seed. There's 1 tablespoon. There's a little more than 2. There's 3 tablespoons of coriander seed. Stir that around. Then you need a tablespoon of curry powder. Tablespoon of curry powder. Make sure you keep mixing after every spice. We need a teaspoon of salt. You need a teaspoon of ground turmeric. There's 1/2 a teaspoon. There's another 1/2. Stir those in. You need a teaspoon of ground cumin. There's 1/2 a teaspoon. There's a whole teaspoon. This is smelling so good. You need half a teaspoon of ground allspice. I have some, but I'm too lazy to ground it up right now. Then you need half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Then you need 1/8 a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Stir that all in. And it says stir it until the onions are brown, about 5 minutes in. Alright, I'd say it's been about 5 minutes stirring all our ingredients. It says to remove it from heat, and then stir in your 2 finely chopped Roma tomatoes. So stir those in. And it says half a cup of frozen peas. But what's weird though is it doesn't say to thaw them at all. So there we go. Stir all those in. Now pour this mixture into our mashed potatoes, or beaten potatoes, and thoroughly mix it. I think that's thoroughly mixed. Now it says to let it cool completely. So I'd give it 10 or 15 minutes to cool. At this point, take a baking sheet, and you're probably going to need 2 large ones, and then spray it down. Now take your prepared dough, and for 1 pie-shaped crust, cut 8 triangles. So each triangle will be roughly the shape of a piece of pie. So I'm thinking something along those lines. That's kind of a tiny piece of pie, but now take your cold samosa filling and plop it on. And then separate out your dough. Oops. And what you're going to do is bring the corners together. Make kind of like a hat shape. Yeah, I should have done a wider triangle, but that's okay. That actually looks a lot more like one than I thought it might. Now we need to brush egg whites onto our samosas. So to get egg whites, crack your shell and run your yolk back and forth. And the white will slowly separate out. And get your white. A little bit of yolk got in, but that's okay. Now whisk all your white together. I would also recommend buying a pastry brush if you plan on cooking a decent amount. You can get one for a couple of dollars. I need to get one, because otherwise I'm stuck using a spoon. But take your egg white, take your spoon, and then brush your samosas with egg white. It's much easier if you have a brush. Now we need to bake these in our preheated oven until golden brown, about 15 minutes. Alright, it's been 15 minutes, and they look nice and golden brown. My crust was a little thick. I should have rolled it out a little thinner. Now, of course, the best part, trying one. I already know I made my pie crust a little too thick on my first batch, but still. My pie crust is too thick, but honestly, it's delicious and makes it taste a lot like a pastry. The filling is delicious. It reminds me a lot of an Indian place near where I grew up, and that was really good quality Indian food. It's funny, I mean, it was a neighborhood of mostly white people, but you would go there, and you would see a bunch of Indian families eating there, and I always thought, okay, this must be legit if actual Indians are going there. This reminds me of that. It's a very like savory yet sweet filling. It's vegetarian, so if you're vegetarian, this is perfect for you. Delicious, pretty easy to make, fun, you get a huge batch of them. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe. You can do it. A few simple steps and you'll have wonderful, homemade, delicious samosas. Be proud of yourself.